Welcome to Psych Insight, where we view the world through the lens of psychology. If you find this content helpful, please share, like, and subscribe to join our community and stay updated with our latest insights. Thank you for watching. Now, let's dive into an interesting concept. Imagine a game where every choice you make leads to your opponent's victory. Sounds unfair, right? Well, let me introduce you to the 31st Law of Power, control the options. Law, an intriguing part of Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, is a masterstroke in power dynamics, akin to a chess match where every move is calculated and deliberate. It's not limiting options, but rather about controlling them, ensuring that every choice offered leads to an outcome that favors you. It's like being the dealer a high-stakes game, where the cards in play always turn the game in your favor. It's about being the puppet master in a world where everyone else is merely a puppet. It's about steering the ship in the direction you want, despite the winds or currents. Sounds intriguing, doesn't it? So let's travel back in time to understand how this law has been employed to win games of power. Picture this. The year is 1933, and a man is effectively using the radio waves to control millions of minds. This man is none other than President Franklin D. Roosevelt. As the United States grappled with the Great Depression, Roosevelt took office, armed with a slew of economic recovery plans, collectively known as the New Deal. However, the challenge lay in gaining public support for these untested policies in a nation racked by economic despair. Roosevelt, however, was a master strategist. He knew the power of direct communication and chose an unlikely ally, the radio. Roosevelt began hosting a series of broadcasts known as the Fireside Chats. These weren't just any ordinary broadcasts. They were strategic tools designed to control the narrative around his policies. Roosevelt's Fireside Chats were a masterful blend of casual conversation and policy explanation. He didn't just present the New Deal as a series of government measures. He framed them as the best, and often the only viable options for pulling America out of its economic abyss. He painted a picture of hope and recovery, a narrative that was compelling, and more importantly, comforting to the American public. He didn't stop there. Roosevelt took great care to explain the intricacies of his policies in a language that was simple and relatable, turning complex economic strategies into understandable ideas. This approach not only made his policies accessible, but also made them seem like the obvious choice to the everyday American. And it worked. Roosevelt's Fireside Chats were instrumental in shaping public opinion. They helped him gain widespread support for his New Deal policies, even in the face of strong opposition. The American public, presented with choices all leading to the same outcome, chose to believe in Roosevelt's vision. Roosevelt's strategic use of the radio not only garnered support for his policies, but also etched his name in the annals of effective power players. His Fireside Chats are a powerful testament to the effectiveness of controlling the options and getting others to play with the cards you deal. Fast forward to 1962, a year marked by the Cuban Missile Crisis, a tense time where the world was on the brink of nuclear war. The world watched with bated breath as two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, locked horns in a deadly game of brinkmanship. In the midst of this crisis, U.S. President John F. Kennedy was presented with a set of options by his military advisors. The choices ranged from a full-scale invasion of Cuba to an even more drastic measure, a nuclear strike against the Soviet Union. Each option was fraught with danger and the potential to escalate the already volatile situation into a full-blown nuclear war. But Kennedy, not content to play by the rules laid out before him, decided to take matters into his own hands. He chose to create his own option, a decision that was not initially on the table. Rather than resorting to violence, Kennedy decided on a naval blockade of Cuba. This bold move effectively forced the Soviet Union to deal with the U.S. on Kennedy's terms. The naval blockade was a gamble, but it paid off. The Soviet Union, faced with the prospect of a direct military confrontation with the U.S., decided to back down. They agreed to withdraw their missiles from Cuba, diffusing the crisis and pulling the world back from the precipice of nuclear war. Kennedy's decision was a masterful exercise in controlling the options. By refusing to be constrained by the choices given to him, Kennedy was able to steer the course of the crisis in a direction that best served the interests of the United States. He didn't just play the hand he was dealt, he reshuffled the deck. His actions during the Cuban Missile Crisis demonstrate how the power to control options can shape outcomes, even in situations where the stakes couldn't be higher. Kennedy's clever maneuvering of options averted a potential catastrophe, a testament to the power of controlling options. His actions during the Cuban Missile Crisis remain a defining example of strategic decision-making under extreme pressure. Rewind to the early 20th century, a time of innovation and industrialization, and a man named Henry Ford is about to revolutionize the automobile industry. Henry Ford, with his innovative ideas and bold strategies, introduced the Model T, a vehicle that would forever change the landscape of transportation. Ford's game-changing move was not just in the creation of a reliable and affordable car. It lay in the strategy that underpinned the production process. He famously offered the Model T in any color so long as it is black. This statement might seem restrictive, even dictatorial, but in reality, it was a masterstroke of strategic planning and execution. In the early days of automobile production, cars were painstakingly built by hand, making them a luxury item only the wealthy could afford. Ford realized that if he could streamline the manufacturing process, he could dramatically reduce costs and make cars accessible to the masses. By standardizing the production and offering limited customization, in this case, color, Ford was able to control the manufacturing process tightly. The choice of black was not arbitrary either. At the time, black paint dried faster than other colors, allowing for quicker production times. So by offering the Model T only in black, Ford was able to speed up production, reduce costs, and control the market. His strategy worked. By dictating the options, Ford made the Model T affordable for the average American, transforming the automobile from a luxury item into a necessity, and ushering in a new era of personal mobility. His control of options didn't just influence consumer behavior, it shaped an entire industry. In essence, Ford's control of options created a win-win situation. Customers got an affordable, reliable car, and Ford got to dominate the car market of his time. His strategy is a classic example of Law 31 in action. Control the options, get others to play with the cards you deal. Ford's control of options not only made the Model T affordable, but also dominated the car market of his time. From Roosevelt's Fireside Chats to Kennedy's strategic decision during the Cuban Missile Crisis and Ford's Model T, the power of controlling options is undeniable. It's a compelling dance of manipulation and strategy that has shaped our history and continues to influence our present. Let's take a moment to revisit the key points from each illustration. Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, deftly harnessed the power of radio to control the narrative around his New Deal policies. By presenting his solutions as the most viable, if not the only options, he managed to sway public opinion and secure support for his initiatives. It was a masterstroke of option control that redefined political communication. Next, we journeyed to the tense days of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Presented with a range of options by his military advisors, President John F. Kennedy chose to create his own. His decision to enforce a naval blockade of Cuba was a brilliant maneuver. It forced the Soviet Union to deal with the U.S. on Kennedy's terms, eventually leading to the withdrawal of Soviet missiles from Cuba. This was a high-stakes game of chess, where controlling the options turned into a successful strategy. Our final historical example took us back to the early 20th century, to the production line of Henry Ford's Model T. Ford's decision to offer the Model T in any color as long as it was black was a subtle but effective way of controlling options. By standardizing production and limiting customization, Ford dictated the terms to the market, making the Model T affordable and dominating the car market of his era. So what can we take away from these examples? The 31st law of power, control the options, get others to play with the cards you deal, is more than just historical trivia. It's a valuable strategy that can be applied in our everyday lives. By understanding and implementing this law, we can navigate personal and professional situations more effectively. Whether it's negotiating a business deal, making a sales pitch, or even planning a family vacation, the ability to control the options can lead to outcomes that favor us. But remember, this law isn't about deception or trickery. It's about strategy. It's about setting the stage so that no matter what choice is made, the outcome is in your favor. It's about understanding the power dynamics at play and using them to your advantage. And as we've seen from Roosevelt, Kennedy, and Ford, when executed correctly, this strategy can lead to victory. These men were not just leaders, they were masters of strategy, and their success lay in their ability to control the options available to others. Remember, The 31st law of power isn't about deception, but about strategy. And as we've seen, when done right, it can lead to victory, regardless of the choices made by others.